Hey everyone, welcome back to another tutorial. This time it's part 3 of our creating a door tutorial. We made a door in part 1 and 2 that was quite a few months ago actually, but we're revisiting it due to a request I saw in the Discord. The request was, could you adapt a door so that it was open more like a Minecraft door would? And that's where you click the door and it would open, and then you click it again, it would close. Currently, the door from part 2 is set up so you have to pull down the handle and then manually pull or push open the door. So instead we're going to create the door and we're going to make it so that when you click it, it opens, and then when you click it again, it closes, and there is no sort of physical action there. It matches Minecraft and a lot of other video games in this style, so let's get started. The first thing we're going to do is remove the logics that we had from part 2. To do that, we're going to grab our dev tooltip, point it at the door, hit secondary, open the inspector, jump to the root with this big fat up arrow, and then we're going to remove this logics. But before we do that, I want to extract the sound. So here's a quick tip. If you want to get a sound out of a set of logics and you don't want to unpack that logics, find the audio clip input, select it in the inspector, find the clip property, grab that, and then trigger in the world, and you'll see you get an audio player orb appearing again. So with this in the world, I don't need any logics, so I'm going to delete that. And then I'm going to go to the door, and I'm going to remove the joint component, and I'm going to remove the interface proxies. I'm also going to go to the handle, remove the joint and the interface proxy, and then we are ready with our fresh door. If you'd like to follow along at home, I forgot to mention this, but here you go. The door, you can find this in my public folder under tutorials, and then door, it's right there. So follow along at home. With that set up, we now need to detect when someone clicks on the door here. When you're detecting clicking or touching, you want to use components that start with the name touch, and there are quite a few. Today we're going to be using TouchToggle, but you could also use Touchable or many of the other types of touching components, but we're going to be using TouchToggle. So I will note that the video is about TouchToggle as well. If you'd like to know about any more, I think there's a video on touch value option. Touchable, I don't think we have an one on, but I can do a quick one on that as well. So anyway, if we go to the door slot here, we can attach a component. We go to transform, interaction, TouchToggle. With TouchToggle, you can see that now when I point my laser at the door, it turns blue, or this light blue color. And when I click the door with my trigger, you'll see the state property here turns from on to off. So what we can do is basically make it so that the door is open when I click this, and this is checked, and it is closed when this is unchecked. So let's hook this up with logics. So I'm going to go ahead and grab my logics tip and pull out TouchToggle with a grab and then a secondary. And then we're going to pull out a display node on state. So we're going to put our tip in, pull it out, and then hit secondary, and you'll see false to true. So now we need to detect what we need to do to the door to make it open. If you remember from our previous tutorials on this matter, what we changed was the Y rotation of the door. And you can see up here in the rotation property that the Y rotation is currently 45. And then if I change this to negative 45, you'll see that the door is now open. So what we need to do is take this from negative 45 to 45. To do that, we're going to use the question mark, we'll use remap instead. No, we'll use question mark equal. Okay, so if you go to operators and then question mark colon, this is also known as the ternary, but I call it question mark colon in my videos just so that you know where to find it. And we're going to plug this state into here. And now we're going to specify what the number is going to be here. So what we want here is that when this is true, it is negative 45. And when it's false, it is positive 45 here. To do that, we're going to go ahead and grab a float input. So we'll go into our logics node menu, we go into input, and then we go to float. I only need one right now, and I'll leave that logics menu open. And we'll put this into the top. And then you'll see when I did that, that the top two inputs of the question mark colon changed to the blue color. So now here I'm going to put for the door being open, that is -45. For the door being closed, it's +45. And so now we can pull out this node, and you'll see that we're currently at -45 because the state is true here. So when I click this, you'll see it goes back to 45. So it toggles between them. So that's what this node does here in the middle here, the question mark colon node. It will output this top value if this value down here is true, and it'll output this bottom value if this value is false. So you can see this as being open, close, and then the state here. Now we're going to use the tween node to make the door kind of open a little bit nicer. So let's go ahead and grab that. So we'll need actions, tween. Check my tween tutorial. I will go over it here again, but check my tween tutorial if you're unsure. And now we're going to need the door itself. So we're going to grab the door. And here's the door slot. Now with tween, we need to put this top right one into the rotation value. And then we're going to need an impulse that happens when the tween should happen. For this, we're going to use the fire on change. So go to flow, fire on change. Fire on change will fire an impulse when a value changes. So now here, when I click the door, you'll see that we get an impulse every time this value changes. And we can plug that into the top of the tween. This is where a new node is going to come into play here that I quite like using, but we might have seen before, which is called axis angle. The reason behind that is because we need to tween between two quaternarians. Quaternarians are how Neos renders angles and maths within those angles, and they're kind of sort of unwieldy at first, but you can get used to them. What we need to do is to convert this number, 45, into a quaternarian. To do that, we're going to use axis angle. You can find axis angle under math rotation, axis angle, and we'll spawn that in. Whoops, that was the door. You'll see here that axis angle takes an angle and then an axis. So we're going to make this the angle, so the open or closed angle, and then the axis is the axis we want to rotate on that angle. And so because the door operates on the y angle, or this green arrow here, we need to input the y-axis as our axis. To do that, we're going to grab the axis here, secondary, and then put 1 into the middle value, which is y. And this will give us a quaternarian, which represents a rotation around the y value. This here we can plug into the to. The from, we can plug in the rotation value. Oops, there we go. And then the tween speed duration, I'm not sure what's good here. I'm going to try 0.5, and then for smoothing, I'm going to say smooth. And now we're ready to take a look. And you'll see that the door now opens and closes nice and smoothly. I'm going to make that smoother. Or maybe cyan, actually. Yeah, that looks better. And then I'm also going to increase the angle that it stops at when it's open. So we're going to increase that to, let's say, -60 instead. And now it looks more sort of natural. With that done, we're done with the door. You can click it and it will open and close. I'm going to go back over axis angle just briefly. Feel free to skip this if you understand it. But axis angle is taking the y-axis here, which we're specifying, as in 0, 1, 0, and then the number from the question mark colon note, and turning it into a quaternarian. So it's doing all of the fancy maths for us. That's all there is to it. I'm going to repack this logics into the door by going up to the top of the door, making a new child, calling this logics, and packing it up. Now I can get rid of the tool, get rid of the inspector, and we have a nice door. I will put this door into my public folder as well, and I'll call it the door tween. So you'll see door, which will be the handle one, and then door tween will be the one that just tweens open and closed. Oh, I didn't do the sound. Let's do the sound. Feel free to stop watching here if you know how to do the sound, but we'll do the sound now as well. So we're going to unpack the door logics. And then I'm going to come across here. Looks like we've actually got 2 copies of the sound. That's fine. And what we're going to do for the sound is we're going to use the onStarted property of the tween to trigger that sound. So we're going to need a couple of nodes there. We're going to need a audio clip input. And we're going to need a play one shot. So onStarted, play one shot, play this audio clip. For this audio clip, what we need to do is grab this, put it through the audio clip, and then let go, and you'll see it changes to audio clip holder assets. That's fine. Then we don't need this anymore. And then you'll see a root property. That's where the sound plays from. So we're going to set that to be the door. And now we should have a sound. There you go. We'll repack that. And we're good to go. I will see you next time. I hope that helped.